Here goes nothing, guys. I'm not sure if I'm gonna love or hate this sprayer for this application. About to find out. Come on, not playing fair, not nice, not good. For some reason, it's squirting a shot of paint when I pull the trigger and when I let go of the trigger. It's brand new. I read the manual. They got nothing to say. I'm gonna struggle through this for a little bit longer and see if I can find the answer. Huh. You suck. Why are you doing this? No way. I think I know what's going on. So you're supposed to squeeze this little disposable pail to remove the air to keep the prime on the pump. Sounds good, doesn't it? Through this little pressure relief valve or air exhaust valve. Let's just say it's really hard to get all the air out of there to keep the prime. So I think I'm gonna try spraying with this upside down. No, that's not acceptable, but it's worth a shot to see if that solves this shot of paint at the beginning and the end. If it doesn't, this sprayer's junk. Nope, didn't solve it. Super annoying. Check out that glob. Big fat run, big fat run, big fat run. Look at that. Makes no sense. The paint and the sprayer say that this paint should not need to be thinned, but looking at that, I don't know. Well, this is turning into how to do a absolutely horrible paint job. I mean, what can you do? It was funny because I was thinking earlier that I freaking hate spray paint because spray paint, the tips always clog, the primer or whatever inside doesn't flow as much as the propellant, and you just get such a blotchy job. I was really hoping that this sprayer would be awesome and it would allow you to put down paint in a really, I'll call it a nice way. It definitely puts out a lot of paint. And granted, that's the tip, but I don't think you can go much smaller than the tip I have on here. I guess maybe I'm realizing for this type of a job, maybe I should be using an air sprayer instead of an airless. Man, I don't have a lot of paint, so it's tempting to not mess around with my paint, but at this point, I'm kind of up a creek. I don't know. I'm just going to deal with it. We'll try to get through this and then kind of work backwards. I'm up against a really weird timeline today. I haven't been able to work on this project for almost 2 weeks because of the weather. It's either been windy, and so the dust has been blowing around and I didn't want the dust in the paint, or it's been raining. And either one of those won't work. So even though we have the house, I don't want to work on this project in the garage. It's just paint, that much paint in the garage, not a big fan. Not in love with these big blotchy runs. I would say other than that one problem, it definitely works. This sprayer, I had a hunch, I think most airless sprayers are this way, maybe I'm wrong here. They have a hard time putting down really thin coats. Maybe if you thin the paint a bunch, you can get a much thinner coat, but a lot of these paints don't recommend thinning too much. So I feel like you're probably better off working with an air sprayer and, you know, just putting it on really thin. This looks like about 5 coats of paint in one shot, and that's kind of been my experience with these airless sprayers. Maybe it's just my tip size. I don't know, maybe there's something I'm doing wrong, but anyway, paint's on the metal, it's on there pretty thick. I don't think we're gonna need 2 coats to get this done. I feel like paint is one of those things that you can either do on the cheap and the lazy, or you can try to, you know, put a lot of effort into it. I think the paint aisle's like 5 aisles at the hardware store, between sandpaper, tack paper, solvents for cleaning, enamels, primers, sanding between coats, and certainly there's a lot of pride, I think, for people who do this for a living. It is an art to get this finish on as thin as it can be, as durable as it can be, and really make it look good. I kind of hesitated to work on this project because I was kind of stuck at the paint. It was something I wanted to learn. As much as I wanted to learn the welding and all that stuff, I've never really stopped and slowed down in my life to try to be good at paint. You're not gonna be good at paint in one project. Well, it's kind of biting me in the butt now. I realize that there's just a lot to it, and I'm not gonna pretend like out here in the dirt on my driveway I'm gonna get even remotely equivalent quality to somebody with professional experience tools and a good paint booth or somewhere like that. Will it hold up to the weather? I think we're good. Well, I think it's pretty safe to say this is a bad experience. There you go. This sucked. Way to like get this far into the freaking project and then just goober it up with paint. So it's a combination of, apparently I don't understand how much paint it takes to build something. It seems like a quart of paint should be plenty to do this, but maybe I'm realizing that these Airless sprayers just waste a lot of paint. I guess if you get the tip size right and you get the fan correct and you hold it the right distance and all this stuff, maybe the coverages are more appropriate. But so far, my estimation skills for how much paint to get suck. This sprayer seems to lose prime really easily. I don't know if I'm just not being aggressive enough with squeezing that thing to get the air out. It's like you kind of got to tilt it and you got to do this, you got the air bubble, and then you got to like make sure it's good, and then you spray and it loses prime. Oh, there's more air in there, and anyway, really frustrating. So I just made like a horrible mess of my man basket project. I guess it's not gonna matter. It's a man basket. It's probably gonna get drug on the ground and left out in the rain and neglected anyway. But when you work on things and you try to make them a matter of pride, this kind of hurts your ego. Right toward the end, my sprayer totally lost prime. You're probably not gonna be able to see. Look at that, look at that. Can you guys see that? There's no way anybody would be happy with that crap all over their paint. Am I gonna clean it off there? No, I'm not. I'm just gonna be irritated. I'm gonna sit over here and be irritated. I can't see how this would ever work for this type of a project unless you thin the paint way down and on and on and on. Obviously I still have to paint the railings. I'm trying to decide whether I'm willing to thin the paint down and fuss with this thing, or if I'm just gonna abandon it altogether. I so badly wanted this sprayer to be freaking awesome. You know what's true though? Part of the reason I invested in this thing, if you don't know, by the way, these painters are freaking expensive, like 3 times as much as a normal Airless sprayer. Figure that out, because it's got a battery, that's why. I wouldn't spray a wall in a house with that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know a single professional out there who's gonna spray a wall and have this kind of crap. It's just not gonna happen. No way, not gonna work. And I guess here I am sharing my experience. Maybe everybody else out there has a completely different experience. Maybe this sprayer's just one-off, maybe the tip's no good. Maybe I should try the other tip. That's not a bad tip. So I guess we're painted. The bad news is it's kind of getting dreary looking out here. So I'm kind of worried it's gonna rain. I think the dry time on this is like around 1 to 4 hours, and it's fully cured in 24. Hopefully we can get that far before it rains. I think I'm gonna try to troubleshoot. I want to find out if this thing really is a piece of junk. In fact, before I started working today, I had this thing inside of me said that this is not going to work. But you know what? If you don't try new things, how are you going to find new tools? I've seen a lot of people using this thing. I've been thinking about it, and just kind of follow me here for a second. Think about this. The way a normal airless sprayer works is you turn the pump on and it comes up to pressure. And then of course you have a hose and a gun at the end of the hose. And that gun is always under pressure. So as soon as you pull the trigger, you have full pressure, and then the pump just has to keep up. But this one, when you pull the trigger, you're actually turning the pump on and off. And therefore, when the pump is coming down from pressure or coming up to pressure, you're not at full pressure. That seems pretty freaking obvious to me. So why is it that this doesn't hold pressure, and then when you pull the trigger, paint comes out? I guess maybe it would take too much battery power. I don't know. But it makes sense to me that this is always going to act this way, because if you use a regular airless like this, you hold the trigger wide open, which is basically what you're doing with this. You have no control. It's basically on and off, right? And then you turn the pump on and off, you're going to get the exact same squirt of paint at the beginning and at the end of your stroke, because the pump simply can't get to pressure if you've got the gun wide open. I don't know. So I think what I'm going to do is put some paint thinner or some mineral spirits in a container and spray that and see if I get the same squirt at the end of my sprays. If I do, I'm convinced it's the gun. It's not the tip. It's none of this stuff. It's just how the gun is designed. If it doesn't do it, there's a part of me that wonders if maybe I just needed to thin the paint or something and let the pump get up to pressure quicker with a thinner liquid. Well, it's definitely the answer, guys. It'll spray paint thinner just fine. Sometimes when you work on a project like this, you ask yourself, do I just do what I know works? Or do you take it as a learning exercise? And I feel like if you introduce too many new things on one project, you just lose your mind. This has been a challenging project for me mentally. It's really stretching my brain, stuff I'm not super good at or super familiar with. And when things just don't go the way you want them to, it like really frustrates you, especially when you're trying hard. I think the good news is, this is a really rugged project, so I'm not too proud of it, I guess, because of the paint, but I'm willing to try again. I'm willing to try again to spray the railings with my special color, but this time we're definitely thinning the paint, and we'll just test it and kind of see if we can spray a thinned paint without the big squirts at the end. Rain, guys. It's rain. Ah, can't get a break. Wonder if this paint's dry enough. Nope, still got tack. Unreal. Do I scramble and try to find a frickin' tarp or what? I'm like 98% on primering the handrails. I'm worried if I don't protect this, it's gonna get ruined. All the top rails are all wet now, so can't really paint those. Probably throw a little primer Looks like my primer died on me too, even though there's paint in there. Oh guys, is this one of those days where the universe is telling you to stop? What's going on, Tarp? What's happening? Well, I took another coffee break and cooled my jets, as they say. Gave a look at the radar. It's not looking good. I don't know how bad the paint is. I feel like I'm just screwing everything up today. I don't know. Yeah, this paint's like nowhere near. Tarp's kind of sticking to it. I got far enough on the handrails that they're probably protected, at least from the weather. It would be nice to put those on here and tarp it all, but it's not gonna happen. The good news is, this isn't the only thing that I had planned today. And I think with this kind of can't really figure itself out weather pattern, I can start working on the floor. I'm kind of passionate about what I have in mind for the floor. Sure, I could just put wood down, but I think we can do better. Actually, you know what? I know we can do better. Well, in the last 2 hours, guys, it's rained about a dozen times. The entire time I was sanding these boards, sprinkling, like just enough to kind of ruin your day, that kind of thing. It's basically threatening this project. The forecast for the next 2 weeks is more of the same. So if I delay this thing, it's not gonna get done. Do we need it today? No, not really. But you know how it is, you wanna finish something. There's no great options at this point. I've asked to borrow a friend's shop, but he's got projects in there right now, which I totally understand. Kind of there myself. So I made room in the garage to bring this stuff inside if it starts to get serious. My thinking is, if everything's right here, we can whip the garage door open and shove it inside enough to A, protect it from the rain, and then B, get it to where it's tarpable. And I think that'll be good enough. We need about 10 hours for this paint to get to where you can touch it. It's still tacky. The tarp didn't do a lot of damage to the paint, but it's definitely not even close to dry. 24 hours is what they say. That's the hard thing about quality, and I think you can kind of understand why people rattle can a lot of stuff, because it dries fast. The two things that I need to get done, I actually had Alyssa pick up more paint. It's not gonna happen today, but I may actually try to touch sand some of that really oogy paint on the man basket and then hit it with a fresh coat of paint. And we did come up just a little shy on that guy. So I'd like to get the railing painted. That's the first one. And then I think shift back to the floor and try to get my special floor project done. guys, tarp did lots of damage. Paint was just not ready to be tarped. Having a lot of problems today. This paint I think is going to require around 10 hours or so to dry before we really want to tarp it. I mean, you can see where all the paint got knocked off here from the tarp, and got a little bit of rain on it even too. Boy, oh boy. I feel like today's not complete, even though I'm not gonna get this done. Like I've come to grips with that. But I feel like this is just not complete unless we get a chance to really get to the bottom of this Graco sprayer. To me, that was like the big thing that I wanted to accomplish today, was find out if this thing's even worth it or not. You know, should I send this thing back? I've seen reviews on both sides. Some people say piece of junk and other people say it's the best thing since sliced bread. I was gonna work on the floor because it was raining and the primer and the paint, I've decided to just bag the floor. Floor's gonna happen another day. We gotta get this painter figured out. So I had this kind of block around paint color. I didn't want to just paint it willy-nilly. I wanted to kind of think ahead, you know, to make some of the things that we're gonna build around here kind of match. You know, sounds kind of silly, but I think it just shows thought. So I wanted to paint a color that I think makes sense and that's safe and that's going to draw attention, especially for things that are safety related or that are work related. I went to the paint store and I said, what can you do for me in the orange tones? And they gave me these paint swatches and said, anything on the thing you can get on the paint swatches. And so they had things like Pretty Pansy, Crunchy Carrot, and do you guys see where I'm going with this? I said no. No. That's not what I'm looking for. So I actually found some spray paint that is OSHA orange. And I had this idea. I asked him, if I buy spray paint and I spray a swatch, can you match the swatch? And they said, sure, why not? So I actually got OSHA orange in an alkyd enamel. So now we can spray OSHA orange in large amounts. We don't have to deal with the clogging, doesn't really work issues that come with spray paint. Another good feature, I guess, kind of, is that it's color matched to spray paint. So if I needed to do touch up without having to pull out the sprayer, we could just hit it with spray paint. Well, it definitely sprays a lot more paint, but I think it's debatable whether it's better. I tried the other tip just to kind of exclude that. So far, I'm coming to the conclusion that this thing is just not gonna paint the way we want it to. I literally filled this paint up to here in this container and I squeezed all the air out, and this is what I'm left with. It's like a quarter of the paint. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, that's causing me problems, grief, because I don't want to fill this all the way up. You know, what if I don't need all that paint? I guess the question is, do we pull the trigger and go for it or what? I feel like there's way too much paint and I have no way to change that other than to buy a new tip. I'm already at the max pressure. I don't feel like it's atomizing the paint. I feel like it's just going on heavy. Even though I've thinned the paint down, you can see that it's kind of spread out a little bit more. Oh wow. It's so bad, guys. It's so bad. Really? Look at that. Look how much paint that is. I think this is a sprayer problem, not an operator problem. It's so bad that I'd actually rather rattle can than deal with this crap. Let's spray on low pressure just to eliminate it. Look at that. At the end of every stroke, you get this squirt of paint. And that's just more paint. All right, well, I feel better about this whole thing. I'm glad I took 10 minutes and just got the paint mixed up to come to the conclusion that I'm not a fan of this sprayer. I think you guys already know. If you've already used an Airless, you know what you should be able to do with it. Especially when you turn the pressure up, you should get a real good atomization of your paint. And I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out we're not getting that. Look how much paint is on there. Look at that. I can run my finger through it. That's so much paint. And there's no way to stop it. Look at that. That's a lot of paint for such a small area. I couldn't take it. I spent the time and I set up my other Graco Airless. This is a smaller one. I think it's called a Magnum. I have expectations that this will spray perfectly. I've sprayed many houses with this sprayer. So that's why I was able, or I was confident investing in this cordless thing, and my confidence is completely to nothing. So let's give this guy a shot, and I'll show you what I would expect from an airless sprayer. And by the way, this isn't even an expensive airless sprayer. It's 1/3 the cost of the cordless unit that we were just looking at. I don't know if the tip that I'm using on that sprayer is correct for this. It definitely seems a little heavy, but this is more what I would have expected from this cordless sprayer. Again, it's not perfect. I definitely feel like maybe I have my pressure a little too high. Definitely haven't used this airless on metal, but this is more what I would expect from that other unit. I think thinning the paint a little bit more probably would actually help. Definitely feels like it's going on a little too heavy and not getting the atomization that I probably would want. So a little bit of tweaking, I think, with this airless, and I could probably get the coats that I'm looking for. I think the conclusion I've come to with this cordless unit is I'm done. The question is whether I keep it and try it on doors or walls. I think there's a good chance it'll probably spray latex just fine, so if we were to use it for interior, it might work. But you know what? It's not that much work to set up this other airless. Obviously, it's got a hose, so you're limited by that. And cleanup takes a little bit of time, and obviously it takes a bit to get it primed. But based on the problems I had getting prime and keeping prime on the cordless, I'm not sure that cleanup's really that much easier on the cordless. I mean, there's definitely benefits to it for sure, but there's not a massive savings there. It's got a battery, so you don't really have to worry about place to plug in. You don't have to worry about, you know, cords and the limitations of your cord. I don't know, not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. And I think that's really disappointing. I think at the price tag for these sprayers, I just wonder if I got a bad unit, or the tip is no good, or if that's just how they work. I mean, I've had such good success with this little Magnum that I can't believe that I've had nothing but problems since I put this other one to use this morning. In fact, I really wish I hadn't even used it on this project at all. I'm really frustrated. It's the weather, but it's not just the weather, you know what I mean?